Listen.
Go ahead.
Listen, on the video podcast, I say this. Icon, it's thrown away. The word is overused. True icon of all things hip-hop. West Coast icon. Weed-smoking icon. I remember the first time I saw it on Ralph McDaniel's video music box. I saw a Killa Man video, and I was like, what the fuck? It took me a long time to even be able to speak to you without, because when I used to see you at, I saw you at Lollapalooza, I'd see you here and there, I was like, yo, I fucking Be Real and shit like that. Be Real's on the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast.
Thank you for having me, man.
Shit.
It's been a long time coming.
Long fucking time coming. I was on Cypress TV,
Yep.
I was on the Smoke Box, and I'm literally a day one, like a fan.
And we're a fan of you. I know I am, for sure.
Well, I
love
appreciate
your work
that.
all day.
I appreciate that. So, listen, I was thinking about this. Like, one of the rules of the I Am Rapaport Stereo podcast is I don't fact check. But when I have somebody really that I'm hyped about, I have to put down notes and I have to fact check. I'm not going to be able to get into the entire life and times of Be Real and Cypress. So, one of the things that a lot of people don't know, I think because you smoke weed, is that you're like a hard body karate basketball Lakers season ticket holder.
Oh, yeah.
So being that you've had season tickets for how many years?
Since they opened the Staples Center.
Okay.
Like I was always on the road, at the time that they were still at the Forum, so I never had a chance to go check the games at the Forum because we were so busy. But once they got into the Staples Center, I was lucky enough to get, my name in on the tickets, and, I've had them ever since.
All right, so it's been a little bit of a rocky start.
Oh, yeah.
For your LeBron Lakers.
Yes, it has.
How do you feel? What is your? I mean, listen, we're in the smidge of the beginning of the season. Where's your head at? The excitement level, the smearing of the murals. I mean, you run these LA streets. Can you control that shit? Like, what is your whole take? You've seen stars, you've seen musicians, you've seen tours. Have you ever seen like a craziness for something gearing up to it? Because now that he's here and they lost a few games, it kind of like reality is set in. But have you ever seen any kind of like hype?
Not like this, and I think it's, partially because, for so long when Kobe was playing, they put, well, who's better, who's closer to Michael Jordan, and all those comparisons, right? So when after Kobe left and he comes here, you got fans like myself that are excited about the shit because we know the possibilities, what he can do, how he can make these guys better. And then you got other guys that are still like, well, he'll never be, this is Kobe's town. It's like, hey, get the fuck over it. He's here. What bothers me about that shit is that some of our fans...
This is Kobe's town. He's not playing anymore.
He's not playing anymore, right? So, but what bothers me the most about it is that everybody complained about not having someone, not having an anchor, a star that could come and take that spot and do something with these youngsters and teach them how to win and blah, blah, blah. Magic Johnson pulls the move of moves, God bless him, as he said he would. He don't ever say anything that he can't deliver, and he fucking delivered. He brought the best basketball player on the planet, apparently, to the Lakers.
And motherfuckers are complaining.
What do you want, a fucking free Cadillac with that? Get the fuck out of here. It takes time.
It's true. It's a good point.
It's their third game in the beginning of an 82-game season. Expectations are going to be high, but look, I look at it like I'm seeing the potential in the young guys and how they're playing with LeBron and how he's feeding them and making them better, which is what he's there to do. He's like a Magic Johnson type right now. He's not taking all the shots. He's taking them when he needs to, but he's getting the other guys involved. And I thought Rondo was a great addition to that too, like someone who can, help coordinate this whole shit with the youngsters. Unfortunately, he was out in the last game, but I'm not worried, man. All these people that are worried, it's 3 fucking games in the season, and let me remind you, I'm a fucking Kobe Bryant fan, and his last 3 seasons were absolute shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? So give this guy a chance.
Yeah, I agree. But, the hype was so... I don't know what they expected. If he had won the first 3 games, literally people right now would be going fucking nuts.
It's a brand new team.
All right, I'm going to jump into this.
Right.
I'm going to jump all over the place. As I said, when I first saw Killa Man video, this is the video I believe came out in '91.
Right.
One of the things that I was always curious about was, why the fuck in the Killa Man video were you, number one, were you in New York? Number two, like, at the time, there was no Instagram. There was, like, Source Magazine. There was a very few things. There was Ralph McDaniel's Music Box. But it wasn't like we knew all about you guys. Why were you in New York? How the fuck did Q-Tip wind up in the video? And how the fuck did Ice Cube wind up in the video? Because at the time, I was like, well, how does he know him? Wait, what, Ice Cube knows Q-Tip? Wait, who are these fucking guys? Like,
love that question. I love it because no one's ever asked that shit.
Fuck yeah.
I'll tell you what. We were on tour with Naughty by Nature at the time. They had the #1 single, OPP, and all that, right? And they are our boys to this day. And we love them for that. And we were gaining momentum once the flip side happened for the DJs. They flipped because we put out a AA side in Funky Phil one and How I Could Just Kill a Man. Funky Phil one was good, but it wasn't getting the steam that we thought it would. But Killa Man, when the DJs flipped the record, boom, it fucking happened. We started getting momentum, and they were like, hey, we got to pull these guys off tour for a couple days, fly them into New York, because we were on the East Coast, so it made sense for us to come off tour wherever we were at on the East Coast, fly to New York real quick, and we shot Killa Man and Hand on the Pump, back to back. We did Killa Man one day, Hand on the Pump the next day, and when we did Killa Man, we jumped all around. We were by Astor Square or whatever, and we were in Harlem. We were in where else?
I think you were in the Bronx.
We were in the Bronx. We were on 42nd Street.
Right, Times Square.
And so when we were at Astor's place,
Astor
Place, I believe Q-Tip was, he had just got off the train from coming somewhere and saw it happening, and he just showed up. You know
That's
what I mean?
dope.
And he was like, oh shit, oh, this is Cypress Hill, okay, so he got in with us. Shout out to Tip for that. And Cube, he had just flown into town. He had been hearing about Cypress Hill through EPMD. Salute to EPMD, because they were like fucking like a street team for us, if you will. They were the first ones telling everyone about us. They were telling like Chuck D and guys like Busta Rhymes through Leaders, all their homies that they would get on tour with, they were telling people about us. So Ice Cube hears that we're shooting a video, boom, he comes to the fucking video.
And that's when you first met him.
And that's when we first met him, yeah. And that's how they got in the video. Now, we were always in New York because we were one of the few West Coast groups, probably the only West Coast group at the time, to be launched out of New York on the Sony label in New York, which is the mothership, as opposed to the Sony out here on the West Coast. They felt that these guys wouldn't know what to do with us, so they launched us from out there with Rough House Records, which was based out of Philly. So everything was East Coast based for us in the beginning, so it made sense for us to do these 2 videos in New York and get that flavor, because Muggs was from New York as well. But it was totally by chance that and the other guys that are in there.
Yeah, who else is in there?
The UMCs are there.
Okay.
Because they were like, putting out their shit at the time too. And they happened to hear we were there. So they came and, they got down with us. Tim Dog.
Right.
That was like set up by Sony, because Tim Dog was releasing and we were releasing at the same time, and they sort of wanted to have a connection. And Cube was really weird about that. He would not.
Because it was a fuck Compton shit, right?
Yeah, and he was like, hey man, I gotta go home and eat. And, I gotta live, and I can't be buddy with this motherfucker right here. And I totally understood that. We didn't necessarily, we weren't totally comfortable with that either, but when Donnie Einer is asking, you don't fuck around and say no.
He was the boss?
He was the boss of bosses at Sony, him and Tommy Mottola.
Yo, just the names that you mentioned there, and EPMD and Naughty, and like the community, of now are some legends, and Tip showing up to the video, and Ice Cube and Tim Dog, and I mean, do you miss? I mean, like, you guys have that community because you came up with it, but like, that's such a special time.
It was, because we all got down together. You know, you remember when they used to do the Jack the Rappers, the Gavin Report, and the New York Music Seminar. Those were all places that we would commonly go because we had music we had to put out. There, you know, labels were always sending us there to promote ourselves and the music and the single to all the people in the industry and shit like that. So, you know, we would always end up in these same places if we weren't on tour. And a lot of the time, the guys that were hanging out was brand Nubians. Well, Lord J and Sadat from the Nubians, and Buster, and sometimes Tip and Fife and myself, and the guys from Naughty. You know, any one of them, if not all three. And, you know, and Large Professor, shout out to my man, Large Professor. We, you know, we would hang out all the time when we were at different, you know, different conventions or whatever the fuck they're called now, seminars, whatever. So it, you know, it was very much united. We all supported each other. I mean, if you look at the Killa Man performance on MTV Daytona Spring Break, you'll see all those cats on stage with us on whatever our last song was there. I think it was Killa Man. They all sort of popped up, Black Sheep, you know, Drez, you know, it was all of us were always hanging out.
That's so dope.
And I think, you know, that's definitely what's missing from hip hop, because now everybody, it went back to everybody having their own kingdom and being isolated and doing their own shit rather than getting down together and showing the unity of that. But I mean, you know, it's all about cycles in hip hop.
Right.
You know, 1 minute everybody's all together, 1 minute everybody's fucking on their own, and then it, you know, flips back. It happens, you know, and but that was a great time because everybody showed up to everybody's show, supported each other. Photographers had great fucking opportunities to get those in. I would imagine once a lot of those old school photographers, if they haven't passed on by now, whatever work they have that gets, you know, given to somebody, maybe when it gets transferred over into the digital, you'll see that shit pop up on the Instagrams, the Twitters, and the Facebooks and all that stuff. Because there's a whole lot of, there was this legendary photographer in the hip hop game. He was like an Indian guy, but native. Ernie.
Yeah.
Yeah. He shot everybody on the East Coast.
Right.
Like everybody. And out here, you got guys like Estevan Oreo and Cesario.
Right.
You know, Montana, sorry.
Right.
Good friends of mine. And they've shot everybody out here on the West Coast. And when they were on the East Coast, they did shoots too. But, I mean, when all that shit gets digitized and people actually get what that hip-hop shit was, I mean, you know, we get nostalgic for it. But, you know, you need that history out there.
I agree, man. And, you know, it's like we could sit here and look at these old jazz photos of, like, Thelonious Monk smoking a cigarette backstage. And you'll see John Coltrane. To me, you know, that scenario which you just walked me through, and those names and like those visions of Astor Place and you guys being together at Jack the Rapper, like, to me it's the same thing. Like, I'm like, I goosebump out. Do you remember, like, I know it's a long time ago, do you remember the first time you heard the beat for Killa Man? And Muggs rhymed on that joint, right?
He didn't. That's actually Sendog.
I mean, wait, but in the video,
in the video, it's Muggs.
So how did that work? Why was he doing that verse in the video?
Okay, so when I heard Killa Man, you know, the beat for it, I was like, oh shit, because the beat was just so fucking slamming. And, you know, Muggs had a totally different style. So, you know, to begin with, everything that he was coming up with, I mean, you know, we were pretty much on the same page with everything musically. You know, we liked the same shit. Him and I were like a mirror in that regard. So I always just sort of like, I was there, geeked off the fucking beats he was flipping. So when he got Killa Man, you know, I had a piece of something and he liked that piece, and then he said, hey, you know what, we got this song, lift this piece to go with that piece, and let's see how that sounds. And so we did that, and then there was another song that had another piece that would be the third verse to what we had just taken from other songs, along with the one thing that had written for it. So we pieced that joint together like a puzzle.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because the styles that I was flipping on other beats kind of matched this one.
Okay.
And he fucking totally, you know, he called that one, because I wouldn't have called it. I would have written something totally new to it. But he was like, no, take this, let's take this and put it with what you wrote already. And it fucking ended up working. And, you know, it became a crazy fucking song for us. In terms, what was the other part?
Why was he rhyming in the video?
Okay, so why he was rhyming in the video is because when we were coming up with what our sound would be behind Muggs's beats, in the beginning I was rapping in this sort of voice, an aggressive version of this voice. And that wasn't cutting it. You know what I mean? So, you know, I was given the option to either come up with something different or just write for Sendog and, you know, be part of the crew like that. You know, that's how real we were with each other. You know what I mean? We were friends like that we would tell each other the honest goddamn truth. And, you know, we made each other better in that regard. So I started tinkering with this voice that Mellow Man, Sendog's younger brother, and myself were very much inspired by, and Sendog too, Ram LZ from Wild Style.
Yep.
Now he had a voice where he rapped like this. This is the brother they call the Ram L and blah, 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 you know. And then he would flip it and go into that high shit. And so I thought, well, fuck, let me try doing that high shit, you know. So it was inspired by Ram LZ. And I didn't like it at first, but Muggs loved the fuck out of it, and so did the other guys. And I had to learn this style, you know, for 5 years doing the live shows in the beginning. And they were tough trying to keep that voice, you know, sounding like the record. I was sounding like Busta Rhymes for a long time because I was smoking blunts, drinking Jack Daniels, and that wasn't conducive to sounding like I was on the record. But, you know, that's where I got the style from. And you know, when I got that style, Sendog felt like he had to come up with something that was a compliment yet a contrast to it, which was the Psycho Beta. Like we named the voices, like the nasal high, which was my style, and the Psycho Beta, which was his Flavor Flav style hype parts, like yeah. And so he came up.
So this wasn't just like, this was sort of like you guys worked to that point.
Yes, we crafted all this, right?
That's fucking dope.
Him doing both parts like that. So he wanted to be known more for the beta part than that part. So Muggs ends up doing Sendog's verse
in the video.
And you know, Sendog stuck with the beta. But like when we did the live shows, for a time Muggs did them, but like the voice wasn't the same, so people started knowing, and so Sendog just started doing the part, you know, especially when Muggs wasn't touring, you know, then you would get, oh shit, that's Sendog's voice.
That's fucking, I never heard that fucking, I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah.
So when you guys now, like I'm gonna jump all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, I love the new record, Elephants on Acid, which is, how many records have you guys made?
That would be,
for Cypress?
I believe, our 9th studio album.
So when you guys got to this record, how do you even approach it? Like, you've done stuff on your own. You know, Muggs has obviously done stuff. You guys have, you know, done so much Cypress stuff. How do you, at this point, as grown men, as you've sold over 20 million fucking records at Cypress Hill.
Right.
And, you know, and I, you know, I know there's 3 of you guys, so, but I'm asking, you know, you're the only one who's here right now.
Right.
You know, when you guys get to Elephants on Acid, how do you even approach a song? Like, you know, how do you even, like, do you guys know, like, my favorite joint on it is the Band of Gypsy shit, which I think should go 7 minutes.
That's one of my favorites too, yeah.
That is my fucking shit.
Yeah. Muggs did the damn thing on that album, man. You know, as tradition has it with Muggs producing, we trust and we go with what his vision is. Because his musical visions are usually fucking, you know, punching motherfuckers in the face, you know. And we felt like Band of Gypsies was that brand of Cypress Hill, but like right now. And, you know, what followed with the album, like the dark, obscure, trippy, psychedelic shit. I mean, you know, that's a part of who we, you know, he's working with them, so he had a number of things going on. I had Prophets of Rage, solo shit, stuff that I was doing with Exhibit and Demrick and the Serial Killers. So I got tied up. Sendog had Power Flow, and Bobo had Beat Junkies. I mean Cypress Junkies and Ritmo Machine, and he's doing scores for like Latin Netflix type series in Argentina. So everybody was out there doing something, and and then I was doing the fucking Burner and Be Real projects, the Prohibition stuff. So we all kind of had all this stuff going on that took away from what we were doing with Cypress Hill, and eventually once we got all this stuff underneath our feet, we went back and started finishing out maybe about a year ago. And then after that, it was just about Muggs getting comfortable, getting the mixes, getting the arrangements to the way that he liked them,
Because it is filthy, grimy, dirty, fucking dark.
Fuck yeah. And here's the thing, our tradition in the studio was you do the shit and then you leave it. Don't get married to it. Because whatever you heard that day is probably going to change several times, before Muggs decides what he likes on it. He may flip it to something totally different. And when you're married to it, you might get burned out when you hear like, oh man, that's not what I flipped to. This doesn't sound like I like the other one. And at that point, you're not letting a producer produce.
Got you.
You know what I mean? You're being a fucking prima donna.
Right.
And we always were the ones able to put our egos aside and trust and shit, you know what I mean? So whatever we laid there, sometimes it doesn't come back the same, and we know that. And when I heard the first run of the album, I was like, oh shit.
Did you like it? Were you like, what the fuck?
I was like, I heard the direction he was going in, and because I didn't know what to expect, and I was like, this is gonna be some real Cypress Hill shit. Like those Temple of Boom fans that like the dark, grimy shit, I was like, this is right up their fucking alley.
It's it's definitely one of the darkest joints. Yeah. And like that song, Band of Gypsies, like to me, you're so in the pocket as Cypress. Like the way you guys come in, and even the way Sen comes in, like he I don't know what the musical term is, but he kind of like comes in on the beat. He doesn't wait for the beat to start.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like when you're writing when you're writing now, are you hearing that beat? Like you're saying he's changed things, but like specifically that song, are you writing to a beat? Are you writing to a tempo? How does it work?
Well, for that Band of Gypsy songs, he didn't change. Well, he changed a couple things, but the core of it he left the same. So that crazy grimy shit you hear in the beginning, he left that, and that's that. For me, I like to tailor make the flow to whatever that beat is. So for me, I was right in the pocket in different spots that you don't normally hear, and try not to be too wordy so that it doesn't go past people's fucking heads, because sometimes we try to overrap shit. And on that one, I just wanted to bust a style that I thought complemented the style of beat in which he did there. And it made it easy, man. Like some of those beats like that are so different, like nobody's rocking no shit like that right now.
Hell no.
And it gives me inspiration to find different pockets in the flow that maybe I haven't rocked before.
Okay.
And that's definitely a style that I haven't rocked before.
Are you still like challenged? Do you still challenge yourself? I guess you do, like pockets in the flow, different kinds of flows, because
oh yeah,
I hate to be like, oh, we're the older dudes, fuck the new shit, but like KRS, it was part of like the rhymes, many styles. Like Tribe would say, like KRS was like always like the flows, the changes,
yeah.
Like it was part of your. Like if we're talking about like basketball or sports, it was part of your sneakers.
Yeah.
It was like, yo, Kyrie's got those with the green and the neon. Like flows were like your limited kicks.
It's like Michael Jordan, Kobe, LeBron, Magic Johnson, right? Or whatever, whoever your great was, right? During the regular season, you saw some moves, and you had to try to get with those moves to try to stop these guys. And those particular 3 or 4 moves they did during the season. When playoffs come, they show you a couple different looks that you didn't see before, stuff you can't really stop. And that's what a flow is. You have, you know, all these different flows in your fucking repertoire, you know what I mean? And you're constantly trying to have different ones that you can bust out and chop a head off with, you know what I mean? Because it's very much like sports. Everybody is competitive in this game. You know, I think that's the way we all looked at it, because, you know, hip hop in its true original form was, you know, of a competitive nature. So we're looking at it like we're, you know, a franchise team. We're constantly going for the fucking championship. Now, sometimes you just contend. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't get that championship.
Yeah.
But, you know, it's important to keep the, you know, your team locked, your franchise locked, and always be able to at least compete and contend for that fucking title. So it flows and content and the shit you're saying in the songs and the beats, all that is wrapped up in that.
At this point, you've made you've made iconic songs straight up like fucking, like, I mean, you would think that How I Could Just Kill a Man would be pop music, but it's like so fucking, like, you're like, when you listen to this shit, you're like, How I Just Kill a Man, like, you know, the shit's somehow pop music.
It's crazy.
Sing-songy. You've made, you know, like hood bangers, you've made, you know, like mashups, you've made Prophets of Rage shit. So like specifically like with Band of Gypsies, like when you guys are in a, like, do you know like instant, like, yo, this is a banger?
Yeah, you know, after, you know, once Muggs does all the shit to it and all the arrangements and we hear that shit, we're like, yeah, this is something for sure.
Are you able to get perspective? Like, when are you able to get perspective on it? Does it take years or performance?
You know, it's a combination, right? So like once Muggs gives us to it in its whole form, because we never hear it song by song.
Okay.
Again, we don't get married to it. We do the song, we hear it that day, and then we forget about it, so that, you know, we don't have any expectations of where it's gonna go.
Got you.
And, you know, but there are some songs, right, when you do them, you're like, oh shit, this is one of those songs. And when we did Band of Gypsies, I definitely felt that, you know, and I think that's why it's the lead song on Elephants on Acid that we came out with, because it's one of those things that just slaps. And you know, as of late, we always try to mix our live setup and, you know, make sure that we're playing enough of the new songs and stuff. So we start off with the Band of Gypsies.
Do people get fucking nuts for it?
Oh yeah, they fucking been getting nuts for it. It's a trip, because I mean, you know, it's
so classic Cypress. I posted on Instagram the day the record
came
out.
Yeah.
I went on my hike and I was like, this is that shit. And it took me like the rest of the day to get past, because I was like, yo, it just was like, it was fucking softball. Like, it was softball, it was like slow pitch, knock that shit out of the park. And I was just like, what the fuck is this shit?
Thank you. Yeah, you know, it's definitely one of my favorites on that album.
All right, you like live shows. You know, you perform with Prophets, you perform with Cypress. You know, I'm sure there's probably no way you could keep track of how many live shows you've done. You know, wow. You're definitely like an iconic live performer. Cypress Hill is an iconic live group. You know, with the weed, with the energy, with the whole thing. Like, and at this age, what do you have to do? Like with Prophets, you know, like it's a different tempo.
Oh, yeah.
Cypress, you know, how long do you perform with Prophets? How long do you perform, you know, with Cypress when you guys do a full show? And like, you know, you're not 21. You're not at Lollapalooza in '94. I was at motherfucking Randall's Island. I got a picture I'm going to show you when I first met you at Randall's Island in '94 Lollapalooza. You know, you guys were rock stars. I don't want to get off the subject, but like, how do you like approach live shows now? Because you have to you're sweating when you come off the stage.
Oh yeah, it's like cardio, really. I mean, you know, because you know we play a lot of songs that are maybe up 100 BPMs, close to the 90s, and that's all up-tempo shit, you know, and that's more words per second on a verse than you know, something that's at like 80 or 60 or 70, unless you're rapping that double time shit. So it's a lot, and we move around a lot. You know, we come from that school where, you know, you give a lot of energy output, you know, busting out those fucking verses and stuff like that. And, you know, we looked at guys like KRS-One, Public Enemy, leaders of the new school as inspiration of you know, how to give shows, and even Digital Underground.
Right.
They had one of the dopest shows. So we knew, like, okay, to get up there and compete with these guys, we got to give 100% energy, and it's got to be clean. And the mixture of songs, you know, song placement, we got to take them on a ride, like a roller coaster ride, you know? So we just sort of put our mindset to the same task that we did in the studio. Be out of the box, be different, be clean, and have confidence that we can fucking do this, right? So, you know, when we got to Lollapalooza, we were still raw, we were still fine-tuning our show, but we saw that what we were doing and the energy output of our body language, along with, you know, kicking the verses on point,
right,
not being sloppy, off the beat, running out of breath type shit,
right,
you know, people were fucking digging it. And so, you know, that just became a thing. Like, you know, that was one of our competitive things. Like, you know, we might have been cool with you, you might have been our homie, but we were looking to cut your fucking head off on stage. And, you know, we cut a lot of heads off.
You wanted to, you had pride in, like, yo, a Cypress show is a show.
We didn't care who was on it. And sometimes we got slashed in the face, you know, like every group does.
Right.
But we cut off a lot of heads, you know, friends too, you know, and it happens.
Right.
You know, every group is trying to tear that stage down. It's just who tears it down the illest. And for us, it was us for a long time. And, you know, we met our match a couple times for sure, but that's what it's all about. And it's still that mentality today. Like, we're gonna go up here, our old asses are gonna come up here, we're gonna fuck y'all up. And whoever's coming after us, God bless you. You know what I mean? And that's the mentality we have. And going into like Prophets of Rage, it's the same mentality. We're like going up there not to be the second best band. We're going up there to be the first. We're going up there to be the best. So we're all coming to chop your fucking head off on that one, no matter who it is, you know? And it's fun because it's two different energies. You know, you got the hip hop energy with Cypress, but we do have that punkish, metalish type vibe within our hip hop vibe, you know what I mean? And then you got the Prophets of Rage, which are like not necessarily metal, but it's fucking rocking with the hip hop sensibility, but it's way more aggressive because of the sound and, you know, what we're playing, which is a combination of Cypress Hill, Public Enemy, Rage Against the Machine, along with our own shit. So it's a different energy, but to do all that, man, my workout regimen is really fucked up.
You have to be in shape.
Got to be in shape for that, man, because if you're not in shape to do those two shows, because I toggle out, you know, for a time I'll be with Cypress and I'll have maybe a month off, and then boom, it's time to go with fucking Prophets, and vice versa. And, you know, it's two different energies, but it's all output. And, you know, you got to be ready for it. I mean, all the guys pretty much do something to keep active, to keep in shape, you know, to do these shows, and just to be healthy in general, to take care of yourself. But yeah, I mean, from Cypress to Prophets, you know, most of us, you know, get in that gym and do some work.
That's fucking dope. With Prophets, Chuck D, what does it mean to you to be rocking with Chuck? What does Chuck D mean to you as a fan? Like your friends, your peers in a group.
He was the everything, man. I mean, him and KRS-One were probably the two biggest influences directly. We were inspired by Run DMC. They were our favorite. You know what I mean? And I still rock some Run DMC today because the Kings were the Kings, and they fucking reigned for a long time, and they made tons of good shit. You know what I'm saying? Great classic shit. But who was our influence in the way we did it was KRS-One for me, because he flipped styles, like we were talking about. He flipped styles. He took whatever style that was the thing in hip hop at the time and totally fucking flipped it on its ass and made everybody step up game. And I loved that right there. And I thought, you know, if I'm gonna do this shit, that's the same thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be flipping styles. I'm gonna, you know, do what the fucking teacher does. You know, I was down with the Kings, but I was taught by the teacher and inspired by Chuck D, because the way they did Public Enemy, the contrast of voices and the flipping back and forth of the hype parts and the main shit, and what they were talking about and how they talked about it, and the way that their music was structured was so different, you know, that they were a crazy influence on us, you know what I mean? And I got a lot of my game from KRS-One and Chuck D.
What is it like to make songs with him now?
It's awesome because, like, you know, you're there, and, you know, growing up to this fucking guy, I mean, you know, Sendog and myself and the rest of our Cypress crew, we were all like EPMD, Public Enemy fans and fucking beasties and all that. But what really cranked when we were going somewhere was some Public Enemy. So we'd be listening to that shit left and right, and Sendog's Regal, and the homie Fern's fucking Monte Carlo, or what was it? Fuck, I can't remember. And we were pumping that shit hard, acting like we were like the 98 posse in the 2 fucking cars and shit, right? So to be in that position when I was a kid, to now, like, I'm right here in the studio with this guy, and the magic happens just out of nowhere. The way he creates is like, he's an artist. He's a true artist, man. I mean, you know, not just somebody who actually says something that means something, but his artistry is fucking crazy too. And he, you know, as an artist who draws and paints and shit like that, ridiculous. So it's an honor to be there with him, man. And it's kind of surreal, to be honest with you, because when we were in demo mode, like early on, there was a club called the Penthouse Lounge down here in Los Angeles. It was close by here, actually. It was like a small, like a condo type building, but they used to throw this club on the top floor. And, you know, the hip hop scene here in LA moved from one place to another, much like New York. There was a bunch of different spots, but they had to renegade it and keep moving around. And it eventually ended up on this rooftop. And Chuck D happened to be there, but he didn't have his hat on. He was just kind of being incognito with, you know.
But he was Chuck D.
But he was Chuck. We knew Chuck because we were fucking massive fans of Public Enemy. So we seen him there. And as LA dudes, LA kids, we don't roll up on celebrities because we know, you know, the assholes they could be at that time, you know.
Right.
You didn't want to get embarrassed. And if you're a street kid like we were, we would have fucked you up for that. You know what I'm saying? For the disrespect. Bodyguards or not.
Right.
We would have just did that. So to not let ourselves down, or not to not allow the celebrity to let us down with who they might have been, we never approached them. But this was Chuck D, and we were all massive fans. So I rolled up on him and I said, hey, Chuck, I know you're incognito, man, but we fucking love you. Keep doing what you're doing. Hopefully one day we're gonna be right there with you. And he turned to, hey, I appreciate that, man. You know what? Keep making music, keep doing that shit, and maybe one day you will be doing that shit. Like, you know, he gave me 5 fucking seconds.
Right.
And I was like, damn, Chuck D said something to me, right? And who fucking knew that we would, you know, get the success that we had and eventually do shows with Chuck.
Right.
And you know, the first time I told him that story was on Smoking Grooves tour, and it was us, Public Enemy, and the Refugee All Stars, Wyclef, Cannabis, and Pros, and those guys, and I can't remember who else was on that joint right at this time, but you know, we were we were on that tour, and what we would do as Cypress Hill at that time is we would tell the promoters we wanted a autograph signing booth where we can go take pictures and, you know, sign autographs and just be with the fans. No one else had done that at that time. You know, meet and greets didn't exist.
Right.
But we did that. We
That's
did that
dope.
all 3 years of Smoking Grooves that we co-headlined that shit.
For free?
For free. We didn't charge nobody shit.
Right.
We signed everybody's shit before we went on stage.
Right.
And we told Chuck, hey, you know, if you guys want to come down and sign some autographs at the booth, more than welcome. You know, bring whatever you got or just bring yourself. And he said, you know, and he came down and he saw it, and there was lines, like 300-400 kids. Well, whoever was playing, you know, they're right there waiting to get autographs from us. And he goes, wow, what made you think of this? You know, like, this is some cool shit.
Right.
And I said, X amount of years ago, we were at Penthouse Lounge. You gave me 5 minutes of your time. And I told myself, if I was ever in the position you were in, I'll always give 5 minutes to the fans, right? And he said to me, you know, that's crazy, because somebody told me one time, and I instill this to you, is the 5 minutes that you take to give a fan, they'll remember it for the rest of their life, whether if it was a positive moment or a negative moment. And I said, well, you gave me a positive one, and that's what caused this.
That's fucking dope.
You know what I mean? And I told the same shit to Method Man one time when he told me that, like, we met, you know, at some club, I think it was a Tunnel, right before Wu-Tang came out, and he said something to me, and I replied something back to him, sort of like how Chuck, you know, said to me.
Right.
And he eventually told me this, and I was tripping out because that knowledge, you know, it gets passed down.
Right,
that fucking love gets passed down. So, you know, that Chuck gave to me. So we thought of that because of him. And when I broke that down to him, you know, we became really good friends at that moment. And I did not know that I'd be in a group with him all these years later. He's a very special dude to me, man. He's like my older brother.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's fucking dope. The touring, you guys got so big. You were young. It was like rock and roll style. Like, what do you remember? Like, you had chicks. There was the weed. You guys were like ahead of the game in terms of like the weed. Legalize it was like on your second joint. Like, you guys were, like, what's like, is there like one sort of, I mean, I'm sure there's a whole bunch of them, and I'm sure there's little stories inside the little stories. What would be, if I said, be real, what's your craziest tour story? Good, bad, or indifferent, fight, chicks, 19 girls. What's like the craziest shit that you, like off the top of your head, like you say, this is the ice cream sundae?
The ice cream sundae, hard one, because there was, like you say, there are so many stories. Fuck, there was so many. But I'll tell you, there was one time, it was a prank got played on me by my good friend Everlast. We were on the Soul Assassins tour. We had a whole lot of fun on many tours, but, you know, this was like a family thing. You know, we had Soul Assassins, I mean, it was House Pain, Funk Dubious, Alchemist, that was a part of the Hooligans, along with Scott Conn, who's on Hawaii Five-0 now. No, not too many people know that. They were called the Hooligans, and they were opening up, and, you know, it was just like a family fucking thing, right? And we pull up to this, to St. Louis, I think that was the city. And right across the street from our venue, they're having a fucking police convention there. Police from everywhere, right? And just so happens that two of the security guards that were working for House of Pain or working for us or whatever, they were just security in general. Two of them were retired LAPD detectives, right? So they knew a couple cats over there in the convention, right? So I'm on the bus, and I got like a pound of weed on the table, and I'm rolling some fucking weed up, and it's myself, Eric Bobo, and one other person, and our security guard. And, you know, we get a knock on our fucking bus door. Hard cop knocks, you know what I mean? You know exactly.
Right, it's not like your friend trying
No, it's not like no little bitch knocking. Our knock was always just that one knock, right? We knew it wasn't our knock. We knew that was a cop knock, right? And fucking, so he opens the little curtain. He goes, oh shit, there's cops right outside the fucking door. I'm like, don't let them in, man. Don't let them in. He goes, shit, man, they're flashing a fucking badge. They're about to come in. I said, lock the fucking door. Don't let them in. He goes, I can't. I gotta let them in. And I'm like right there with the fucking pound of weed. I'm like, fuck it, right? They got me. They burst through the door. They fucking put him, you know, behind the fucking, you know, like driver's seat of the steering wheel, like he's hemmed up. And two guys come in. freeze, blah, 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 you know, all the cop talk that they do, right?
Are you like, oh shit?
I'm like, oh shit. Yeah, definitely oh shit. I'm looking at Eric Bobo like, damn, I'm fucked right now. Because this is a pound of weed in Kansas City, right?
Right.
And 2-3 seconds later, fucking Everlast comes in. Gotcha.
That's fucking funny.
Oh man, you know, we were rolling hard after that, but fuck, like for a split second,
That drop.
The heart drop. You know how like your heart goes, you know, I was like, for years I thought, how am I going to get this guy back for that one?
You never got him back?
I never fucking got him back.
You can't really get that back.
You can't get that back. That was probably one of the best pranks you could fucking play.
That was Punk before Punk.
Yeah, he punked the fuck out of me with that, bro. Because like really, I thought I was done. And you know, they come in, they're like, oh, we're just fucking with you. Your fucking friend got us to come in here. And then they ended up, you know, selling us bulletproof vests and fucking all kinds of shit like this.
That's funny. You've been all over the fucking world.
Yeah.
Every continent, right?
Yeah.
Back and forth.
Yeah.
If I now you're settled down now. I'm a married man. But in your heyday, if you were to write a book, the baddest chicks in the world are where?
Fuck.
Like just aesthetically, like yo, beautiful women are in. Like you just in terms of like yo, if you were telling a young man like yo, when you tour in
Colombia.
You were in Colombia throughout your whole career.
We've been there like maybe 3 times, I think. But you know, noticeably, yeah, they have very beautiful chicks down there.
You're on the stage doing your shit, and it's just.
You know, with us, it's a whole lot of fucking dudes because it's aggressive.
Soup.
Yeah, but
you were a fucking sex symbol in your prime. Yo, this motherfucker. Yo, talk about Stickman. You were like that. You were a rock star.
No,
I used to fuck with this chick, and she was like, "I'm gonna come to LA. I'm gonna meet him. I'm gonna leave your fucking ass." I was like, "This fucking guy." But like, you were that dude.
You know, Cypress was kind of different. That we did aggressive music and we did have a lot of female, you know, a lot of female fans. Yeah, so it wasn't uncommon to go down to somewhere like Colombia or Brazil or you know, any of those places and see a number of beautiful chicks in the crowd. You know, Italy, you know, all over pretty much that we went. It was a trip because, you know, we didn't think women would dig our music, you know. We thought it would be like for young homies like on the streets and shit like that. We didn't really think about if the chicks would be buying the record. We hoped that they would, but we didn't know that they would. We knew the hard rock thug homies would fuck with that because it's life they're living, you know what I'm saying? But who knew? And you know, we did throughout the years see a lot of beautiful chicks, like, but yeah, as a whole, probably Colombia.
All right. I ain't never been. I'm afraid.
Look, there was a dude we met down there, and he was an American dude. Can't remember his name at the time. I think his name was Richie something, Rich something. And I don't know if he was in the music industry to some degree. This was the first time I had ever met him, but other people knew him. And so I asked him, I said, so how long you out here for? He goes, fuck, I live here. I said, you live here? He goes, yeah, you know, like once I came down here, fuck, I couldn't go back. I went home for a week, I told everybody goodbye, and I fucking came back.
Got my shit?
Got all my shit. I said, how long have you been here? He goes, I've been here about 10, 15 years. I'm the white guy everybody loves over here. And yeah, I think he was from New York as well. Definitely wasn't from LA. He had that New York swag to him.
That's funny.
And, you know, that's what that place does to you.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying? It makes you want to go stay over there if you're that guy.
I got you. The usually obligatory question is top 5 MCs, but
yes.
But I'm not gonna throw that at you. I'm not gonna throw that at you because you're known as one of the members of Cypress Hill. So I'll say outside of Cypress Hill, obligatory question: Be Real's top 5 groups of all time.
Ooh,
and you could leave some out. You could even have a cherry on top if you know.
Ooh, shit.
Interchangeable.
That is fucking good, man.
Thank you.
That is a good question because it's hard. There's been so many fucking good groups throughout the years. But you got to have the Beasties up there, and this is in no particular order.
No particular order.
But you got to have the Beasties up there. You got to have Public Enemy up there. Now, obviously, you got to have Run DMC up there. But they're a dude. Yeah, they were a group because there was 3. Wu-Tang and Tribe Called Quest.
Okay.
I would put De La Soul up there too. It's hard because I mean
they're underrated.
They're underrated like a motherfucker, but they made jams that, like, hip hop doesn't form in all these different places without those guys. Because they were doing some out of the box, different style shit from their first record until, you know, even to now. Like, they were so different. They didn't sound like Tribe. Tribe didn't sound like them. They had some of the same sensibilities, but like it was totally like, you know, it was some different shit. Like once we heard Plug tuning down here, we were like, what the fuck is that? It, you know, it started opening up our minds on where you could actually go that wasn't necessarily in the same box as all these other artists, man. I mean, De La Soul is definitely underrated. They were like very inspirational.
I like that. You know, like the group in hip hop is gone.
Yeah.
You know, the Migos are like a group.
That's the new group.
But you just named 5. You could have named 15.
Easily.
Like I know, like just off the list. Like
yeah,
there's
Brand Nubians, Naughty by Nature, Jungle Brothers, Beatnuts,
fucking Eric B and Rakim are a group.
Yeah.
I mean, it goes on and on
and on and on. Ultramagnetics.
Yeah. MC Ultra.
MC Ultra.
Salt and Pepper's a group.
EPMD.
It's just on and on and on and on and on. Now, like we say, okay, Migos is a group. Why are there no more groups in hip hop?
No one wants to split the money.
It's as simple as that's what it is, right?
Probably, you know, because it's like it gets to that point where when the group blows up, it gets to the point where when the group blows up, there's always one guy that people gravitate to more, and if people are in his ear, he's going to leave that group. Or if he's not happy with the group situation, he's going to leave that group. So people now are just like going for broke on their own, you know, and you see less groups, but it's cool that Migos is a fucking group, you know.
Right.
Maybe it inspires other cats to do the shit, you know, and stay doing that format. You know, I try to do I try to keep the duo shit alive with guys like Burner, you know, doing like what Red and Meth did, like, you know, stay doing that form of it too, so that all forms of this hip hop shit is still alive and kicking. Like, cause I'll do a solo joint, I'll do a duo joint, I'll do a group setting, you know what I'm saying? I try to hit all that shit because that's what hip hop is. It's all of that. If you start like cutting shit out and it's only this one thing, it's gonna get redundant, boring, and it'll lose its luster. I mean, some people say it has now. I don't think so, because hip hop has always consistently evolved from where it started to where it's at now. It's continuously evolving. It's like no music genre like it.
I agree.
You know, that we were the little fucked up little brother in the beginning, and now little brother is the biggest brother of them all.
It's insane in the membrane.
It's pretty insane.
Out of all, you've collaborated, you know, as Be Real on other people's joints. You know, who's somebody like that you have never worked with that you like? I'm sure there's a few, but
Jay-Z, off top. Jay-Z's always been one of my favorites. He's like one of my top 3. You know, love me some fucking Jay-Z flip, man. Like him and Eminem are 2 of the guys that they can shift on beats like no one else can.
I get it with Eminem when you just said that, but when you say it with Jay-Z, explain it best details you can.
His styles and pockets are fucking so clean, and they're not like anyone else's. They like, you know, it's not necessarily like Eminem. It's a totally different get down. He's a fucking wordsmith beyond anyone. He's like a fucking alien. No, but Jay-Z, on the other hand, He's got his old get down, and he's fucking sharp on every part of when he flips a different flow or whatever, and some of the shit he's saying. I think sometimes, you know, because of so much shit that's out there, you know, it might get overlooked on how dope he is.
Because he's become so famous, he's so iconic,
yeah,
I think.
It's like the same problem we had in terms of the way people looked at us in the music realm, right? Because he's so big, they don't look at his mechanics. They don't hear his mechanics.
He's past it now.
He's past it now, and they're like, how come you just ain't making this mindless shit like everybody else?
Right.
But that's because he's a student of the game, and he's an actual fucking MC.
He's sick.
He's sick with it. He's one of my favorites and will continue to be. I haven't heard a bad song from him yet. The comparison I made to him and our shit is that, you know, we, for a long time, got lost in they're a cannabis group, as opposed to their hip hop, their music group. You know what I mean?
That was just an accident,
and
right?
that was an accident because, you know,
you couldn't plan that shit, right?
Yeah, we were championing it to, you know, but not every song was about it. I mean, you know, if you listen to each and every Cypress Hill album, there's maybe 2 songs about weed in any of those albums. There's references through the songs, but there's only like 2 weed songs on every album, right? People made it more about that we were a weed group than a music group. And that, you know, and when we do interviews, I'd have to remind them, like, hey, we're a fucking music group before this.
Right.
We are much more than just talking about
Like they think they're
this.
talking to fucking Cheech and Chong and shit.
Yeah, you know, and it didn't really bother me because that's the bed we made. But,
right.
you know, I had to remind people, like, hey, listen, I'm an MC.
Right.
Put me on a song with anybody to speak to the features that you were saying. You know, like who would I like to feature with, and you know, Jay-Z's one of them because I like to test myself and see where I'm at, and I know that no matter who I'm on there with, we're coming for the head chop.
So like when you're with if Jay calls you, you're like.
I would definitely do it.
You gotta like.
If Busta Rhymes, who is one of my favorites.
He's fucking ridiculous.
And he's been one of my homies for the longest, and you know.
I'm surprised you guys have never rocked together.
I think we've maybe done one feature that we were on the same song on. I think it was for Space Jam, is it?
Okay.
Yeah, Space Jam. But we never really, we talked about doing a duo, him and I, for, you know, back in those early days, because our voices, you know, bounced off each other like that. But we never got a chance to do it. But I would totally fuck with Buster because he's because he's the type of dude, and this is what I mean, is that he would take you to another level because we're the type of dudes that want to, you know, be inspired by each other to like chop each other's heads off.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
You're going to push each other.
So we push each other, which makes a great fucking song. So when you hear those verses, you're like, ooh, shit. You know what I mean? And that's what I'm always looking for when I do, you know, a feature with somebody, should they call me. And, you know, the other day I was actually thinking about it. I was like, fuck, I've done a lot of features. In the 90s, I didn't do a whole lot. I did maybe 4 tops, maybe, that Sony wouldn't allow me to get out of the group and do this shit. That, you know, they had to really be okay with any of that. And for a long time, people didn't call me like that because I was in the group format. And sometimes when you're in the group format, they don't really look at you as a single verse MC where you're spitting and you can fucking connect and be like, oh, damn, this motherfucker's actually spitting. They respect me in song form, but the MC form, not really yet. And I'll tell you, you know, the big part of that was DJ Quick. The reason I started doing more features, you know, towards the later part of Cypress, towards the much later part of Cypress, is that DJ Quick hit me up. And, you know, he asked me to do a song called Fandango. And on this song, I flipped a fucking style that I hadn't flipped on any Cypress Hill verse or any other shit. And I did this flip on it. And then he asked me to pitch my voice down a little bit. Instead of being up on that high register, he asked me to come down a little bit. He goes, listen, I know you do this for Cypress, but I think you need to relax it a little bit more and the flip will be easier. You know what I mean? It won't sound so cutty. It'll fucking sound, you know, a little bit smoother edge, right? So I gave the tone a shot, and he fucking loved it. He was like dancing around in the studio, like celebrating. I was like, oh shit. And he started giving me props I had never heard DJ Quick give me before, you know, and, you know, like I had heard it around town and on radio and in interviews and shit like that he had done. I was like, damn, DJ Quick is the fucking man, you know, because we had never worked together at that point. And this was years later, you know, and people started hearing that song and the style I was flipping on that song like MC shit.
Right.
And that's when I started getting calls from some of the younger cats, from other cats in our era of hip hop. They're like, oh shit, B-Real's flipping like that? Whoa, wait.
I think that's a part of like a group, you know, De La, those two guys, Paz and Dave, are stupid.
Stupid.
But they're just like De La Soul.
Yeah.
You know, it's part of a group thing, you know, like, you know, there's a pros and cons to it where people take it for granted. And sometimes, you know, it could break up a group, like you said, because, you know, well, I'm nicer than this dude. This dude's like, you know, but like, you're definitely, because Cypress is so iconic and there's such an impression of it, I think that I could see how that would get lost with you in the early years, because you guys were like, it was like.
Yeah, it was a group, you know, like Public Enemy.
Right.
You know, and those of us that are MCs in groups don't get the dap like a Jay-Z and Nas and Eminem that carry the shit on their own. You know, they don't look at it in the group form. You know, you guys are bouncing it. It's a team. So you could get looked at as the team. Like, you know, people could say Cypress Hill is top 5 of all time. But realistically, they're not going to look at me as top 5 MCs of all time.
I got you.
You know what I mean? Not till I go and cut their fucking idols' heads off.
I got you.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And, you know, it's all friendly competition.
Right.
But, you know, I don't spit with anybody who I don't got love for, and it's never to make anyone look bad. It's just to,
it's MC shit. It's like if you're playing ball.
Elevate the song. You know, we make each other better.
Right. I got 2 more questions. When you first heard "Hand on a Pump," do, give me the first time you heard it, that sample. Give me the making, the ingredients of that song.
You know, it was nuts when we heard that, you know, because Muggs was very much on a roll in terms of putting, you know, because when we were in demo phase, you know, he had all these different types of things that he had going on, but, you know, there was one song that happened, I think it was Real Estate, which was our first real song that was going on the album. He got into a stride right there, and he started to make joints like Killa Man after that and stuff. So when he got to fucking Hand on the Pump, he was very much in the fucking zone. And when we heard that, we were like, when we heard that, we knew the flip was coming. You know, we were like, this is gonna be one of those songs where it just instantly ignites people, and you know, at least that's how we felt. You could never know until you're out there performing this song, right? But what we noticed is, you know, it's one of those songs like it's an underrated song in terms of our catalog.
Is it really?
Yes. When you see what happens in our live set to this song, it's explosive. It's explosive. It wasn't as big of a song as How I Could Just Kill a Man or Insane in the Brain or Rock Superstar, none of that shit. But it's that dark horse. It's that dark horse song, because when that song starts, you know, back in the 90s when we did it, people would just immediately ignite into a mosh pit. Like, when we weren't calling for it, we started fucking emulating what was happening in front of us. So we would bring all our homies on stage, and we'd all be fucking each other up, moshing on stage, like really doing it, you know. We were stupid. But that's what people loved about us, is that we were willing to go that way and be chaotic and give them a spectacle, you know. We didn't have all the crazy visuals and bells and whistles, but what we did have was a raw energy, and we took use of that, and we took hold of it and harnessed it and used it to our advantage. So when we saw that down there happening, we put it on stage, and then we fucking jump out. So we took from the page of the punk rock book, and you know, we just said, fuck it, we're gonna embrace this because this is happening with hip hop. And no one had seen that except for with the Beastie Boys. And realistically, what was happening with them was people were doing the stage diving and stuff like that. But with us came the fucking mosh pits in hip hop for a time. Till everybody got so fresh they don't want their shit getting fucked up and nobody wants to be bumping into each other. So then it's just jumping up and down and doing this. Yeah, 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 yeah. You know,
that's fucking dope.
At least here in the States. Everywhere else is just like it used to be in the 90s. They will fuck each other up out there.
Which I don't understand is dancing. I was always just like, I remember at Lollapalooza, I was like, what the fuck is this shit? Like, what the fuck are you guys doing? This ain't, they go get a football helmet, try out for a fucking team.
It's crazy, man. Especially in Europe. You see these guys get crazy nuts. But it still exists here in the States. Just for some groups, they'll do it. You know, like when we went out with Prophets of Rage, we're like, okay, what's the reactions gonna be in a general admission style venue? You know, are they gonna, you know, just do the hands up and bounce? What are they gonna do? Fuck, you know, we did the Brooklyn, Barclays. And my God, man, I didn't know what they were gonna do. And when we saw the overhead footage of after the show, we're like, oh, fuck. It still exists here in the States too. Yeah, some crowds, they'll fucking lose their shit, and they lost their shit in Brooklyn. I got to tell you, for Prophets of Rage, that first show we did over there.
That's dope.
It was nuts. We were totally fucking stoked.
Last question, because I could go on and on and on and on and on. What is, like, you guys had your thing with Ice Cube, which I hated. It got resolved. You guys are all, everybody's grown, man. It's like,
yeah, we're good.
What is your take on the 2018? Like, I think it has been a good year for hip hop, and I think one of the good things about a good year for hip hop is there's been beef. You never wanted to go beyond record. What is your take on Pusha T, Kanye, Drake, Kanye, Pusha T, Machine Gun Kelly, Eminem? Like, what is, like, just like in terms of, like, if you were doing, like, if we were doing Fox Sports, like, scoring card, what would be your analysis of those two separate little things?
Well, you know, they're giving it a shot, right? You know, beef has always existed in hip hop. You know, that there's always that shit. Some of it's competitive and some of it's personal. And when it gets to personal, you know, it can get dangerous. You know, because your boys don't want to look bad and, you know, in front of people.